What were you teaching? Mr. Jones moved to another town, and soon he needed a new doctor, so he went to see one. He sat down in the waiting room and looked around. The doctor degrees were on the wall. Suddenly Mr. Jones remembered. There had been a student with the same name in his class at school, and he had become a doctor. He went in to see the doctor, remembering a young, handsome student, and was sad to see how old and heavy. However, he said to him, "Good morning, doctor. Did you go to Middletown High School?" The doctor answered, "Yes, I did." "Were you there from 1972 to 1976? Mr. Jones asked. "Yes, I was," the doctor answered. "How did you know?" Mr. Jones laughed and said, "You were in my class." "Oh," the doctor said, looking at him carefully for a few moments. "What were you teaching?" "My first and my last." When George was 35, he bought a small plane and learned to fly it. He soon became very good and made his plane do all kinds of tricks. George had a friend. His name was Mark. One day, George offered to take Mark up in his plane. Mark thought, "I have traveled in a big plane several times, but I have never been in a small one, so I will go." They went up, and George flew around for half an hour and did all kinds of tricks in the air. When they came down again, Mark was very glad to be back safely. He said to his friend in a shaking voice, "Well, George, thank you very much for those 2 trips in your plane." George was very surprised and said, "2 trips?" "Yes, my first and my last," answered Mark. "That man has a very good business." A traveling salesman had to walk so much that his feet often hurt. His doctor told him that salt water was the best thing for them, so the salesman decided to go to the sea for his vacation that year. Since all of the hotels near the sea were expensive, he went to a small hotel far away from the beach. In the morning he went down to the calm sea with a bucket, went over to the lifeguard and asked whether he would be allowed to take a bucket of salt water. The lifeguard seemed very surprised but said, "Yes, although you'll have to pay 25 cents for it." The salesman gave the lifeguard 25 cents, filled his bucket, took it to his hotel and put his feet in the water. After lunch, he came down to the beach again. The tide had gone out now, so the sea was much lower. The salesman thought, "That man has a very good business. He must have sold thousands of buckets since this morning."